Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll begin our meeting with correspondence and communication. Mr. Brooks?
Yep, this week we did not have any correspondence and communications that came to us for public sharing.
Okay. And we'll move on to reports again with Superintendent Brooks.
So the first one for the month, by the way, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. I know some invites went out, so obviously we have something special with Students of the Month. Let's get going right away with that, and we'll start with the high school.
Okay, so I'm Ryan Lawler, the high school principal. I'm going to bring up Mr. Cortolano to introduce our Student of the Month. I just want to introduce a little bit about Terrell Johnson, our Student of the Month. We're incredibly proud of Terrell. He's a high school senior. He's off to an amazing start this year. He plans to go to college next year and study psychology, and I know for a fact whatever Terrell sets his mind to, he's going to accomplish. We're very proud of you. Mr. Cortolano.
Thank you, Mr. Lawler. Mr. Brooks, Ms. Horton, good evening. It's a pleasure doing this. It really is. Thank you for allowing us. All right, Terrell, come on up. I was told to be nice, so I'm going to be very nice. Somewhat nice. Not totally nice. Please stand over. No, stand over here. Stand right here. Right here. When we were asked to pick the Student of the Month for September, it didn't take me long to figure this out. You know something, ladies and gentlemen? When we look at the most precious gemstone we have, it starts out as something else, doesn't it? Something that we usually burn or throw away. This is our diamond in the rough here. I want to start with a quote by Tobias Wolff, who was a soldier in the army of the Pharaoh. "We are made to persist. That's how we find out who we are." Through the 4 years I've known Terrell, we've had our ups and downs. We've had challenges. But, you know, there was one thing I noticed about him. He was a smart kid. He didn't use his God-given ability. We had a few challenges, didn't we? We had some trying times, didn't we? What I want you to do is take this from me and just put this somewhere. Look, and I don't want to ever see it again. Can you do that? Yeah. Okay. But you know something, ladies and gentlemen? We got through these trying times. This guy here, in last June, took 2 Regents exams. Prior to that, he did average, okay? Folks, he achieved mastery on both of these exams. They weren't easy. And then when we saw the grades, Mr. Lawler and I looked at each other and said, oh my God. We knew he could do this. We knew he had it in him. It just took something to click to get it out of you. This is his senior year. He's taken, you know what, he could have taken an easy way out, took a half a day, early, you know, late arrival, early dismissal, see ya. No, he's taking a full schedule. You need to challenge yourself, son. The world is your oyster. You know what's inside of it. You know what, you can do anything that you want to do when you put this and this together. Do you understand? Yes. I want to end something here. John Quincy Adams had a wonderful quote when we talk about persistency. Courage and persistency are magical talisman, before which the difficult disappears, and the obstacles vanish into thin air. Terrell, we are proud of you, and we are honored to have you as our Student of the Month for September. Good luck, my man.
No. Why don't you guys move over to that way, that way.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and we'll continue on with the middle school.
Thank you and good evening. It's been a super exciting week this week at the middle school as we had our open house last night, and we also went to Albany and had a great opportunity to come back with a big check for $5,000. So just to top it off with another wonderful, exciting piece, we are proud to introduce Marlboro Middle School Student of the Month, Alexis Camacho Jimenez, and his teacher to present for him, Ms. Raquel Piazza.
Entonces voy a empezar en español y repetirlo en inglés. I'm gonna sorry, I was gonna do it without crying too. I'm gonna say it in Spanish first and then repeat in English. Okay. Alexis ha sido mi estudiante por algunos años. En el tiempo que lo he conocido, él ha crecido y cambiado enormemente. He observado a Alexis enfrentar a muchos desafíos que parecían imposibles de derrotar, pero con persistencia y un poco de ánimo, él ha superado sus propias expectativas. El año pasado aún me sorprendió y yo tengo expectativas muy altas. Leer no era el primer amor de Alexis, pero por Alexis, desarrollar fluidez y fortaleza de lectura ha estado difícil, especialmente porque inglés no era su primer idioma. Pero en el fin del año, el año pasado, algo se iluminó dentro de Alexis. Vi una inclinación, o mejor un deseo leer y hablar sobre la lectura. Él se hizo entusiasmado compartir lo que supo. Este entusiasmo sobrevivió sobre el verano cuando Alexis cumplió su proyecto de lectura de verano casi a sí mismo. Alexis ha crecido tremendamente como un lector y un estudiante. Aunque todavía hay mucho que aprender, yo sé que Alexis va a continuar con éxito si sigue con persistencia y ánimo. Ansio ver a su progreso. Okay, in English now. Alexis has been my student for a few years now. In the time that I have known him, he has grown and changed immensely. I have watched him face challenges that at first seemed impossible to overcome, but with persistence and some encouragement, he has exceeded his own expectations. Last year, he surprised even me, and I have pretty high expectations. You see, reading was not Alexis's first love. For Alexis, building reading fluency and stamina have been difficult, especially because English is not his first language. But at the end of the year, something inside of him lit up. I witnessed a willingness and even a desire to read and to talk about the reading. He became excited to share what he knew. This enthusiasm carried over through the summer when Alexis completed the summer reading project almost entirely unsupported. Alexis has grown tremendously as a reader and as a student. While there is still much to learn, I know that Alexis will continue to succeed with persistence and encouragement, and I look forward to watching his progress. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll finish the series, Mrs. Walsh, with the elementary school, please.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us. We're excited to be back with you and very excited to share our first Student of the Month of the year. This is our kindergarten student, Jordan King, and he's going to be presented by his teacher, Miss Marion Casey.
Hi. When the kindergarten team was asked to pick a student of the month, Jordan was such an easy choice. Even though we've only been in school for about a month now, he's a hardworking student and has shown himself to make good choices and be a leader among his classmates. I asked all of his classmates to think of some words that describe Jordan, and they said helpful, respectful, fun, makes good choices, determined, smart, a good listener, happy, and nice. And those words really do describe Jordan and our first month together in school. And I know he's going to have a great, successful year, and I look forward to sharing it with him. So thank you, Jordan, and thank you, Mr. and Mrs. King, for sharing your son with me.
So just in case you missed any of that, it's always so impressive to hear how our children are described. I don't care if you're a kindergartner or a senior. All the words mean the same thing, and it's about the greatness that this community expects, but also provides to the children in this community. So when we say, well, you could have taken the easy way out, but you didn't, and when we say that you're honorable, and when we say that someone is persistent and they have a desire to achieve, and when they have enthusiasm, or they're respectful and determined, these are characteristics of Dukes. Our academic program and our arts program and our athletic program produces this kind of child. But most importantly, Jordan, you're nice, and I love that. I just saw 3 very nice people get some well-deserved awards, and I'm proud of you. So thank you, families, for coming tonight. Thank you for bringing us such wonderful children. Thank you, staff, for recognizing the greatness that these kids really are. And I wish you all the best of luck. So thank you for our Students of the Month tonight.
At this time, we'll take a 2-minute break for those that would like to get their kids home to bed, and those that would just like to go to bed. Yeah.
Sorry. We need quorum, people.
We're going to get back to the meeting. Thank you. Have a nice night. At this time, we are going to move on to our student representative report, and we would like to welcome Isabella Martinez as she gives the Board of Education her first report of the year. Thank you, Isabella.
Thank you, thank you. I'm going to start my way with the elementary school, then work my way up. So the elementary school started things off with the kindergarten orientation that was held on September 5th. They're also conducting STAR testing soon, and they're having bus drills. I saw on their Twitter page that some students spent time writing letters to students in Texas who were returning to schools after the hurricane. I just thought that was really heartwarming, so I wanted to share. Also, the PTSA is holding a Miss Chocolate fundraiser for the school, and they ran a Readers Are Leaders program to help encourage their students to read over the summer. Moving on to the middle school, they just had their Frost Valley field trip, and 89 students were in attendance. The 7th grade is having a field trip to the Cantonment Camp and the National Purple Heart Museum in this late upcoming October. 8th graders are all set to be getting their Chromebooks sometime soon. Modified sports teams are underway, as well as a high return of clubs and student activities. And this Friday, there is the Olveus Kickoff event, which is a pep rally style event where each grade is participating in various activities to help prevent bullying. Their motto of this year is belonging, and the middle school really wants students to be as involved as possible. Moving on to the high school, August 31st was the Link Crew orientation with all students. The advisors, Ms. Natoli, Ms. Rogers, Carol, and Ms. Russo, worked to pair groups of freshman students with Link leaders who are upperclassmen. They helped to assimilate the freshman students into the high school. The Dignity for All Students Act was presented to all students, which is a program to help ensure the safety of students. The student assistance counselor, Kathy Harden, hosted a viewing of The Finding Kind to 9th and 10th grade students, followed by a discussion that was geared towards helping girls make positive decisions regarding social media and societal pressures. The College Essay Forum was also held this past week for junior and senior students. The PTSA is working on a Red Ribbon campaign that will be hosted this October. They are also working on a wall of positivity that will be created in the school with Post-it notes. And additionally, they put up positive quotes in each of the school bathrooms in hopes to inspire and encourage students. The Spirit Week will be held, followed by a pep rally on Friday, October 6th. October 5th will be the Powder Puff football game where senior and junior girls play against each other, and many clubs and sports teams have an opportunity to fundraise. Also on October 5th is Financial Aid Night, and then October 6th is the homecoming football game, and October 7th is the homecoming dance, and October 19th is the Marlborough High School counselors will be holding college night. So overall, students have been easing into the new school year. There's a large amount of school spirit shown this year through academics, clubs, and activities, as well as college readiness or preparedness. There we go. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Moving back to Superintendent Brooks for the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Isabella, that was wonderful. Thank you very much. First of all, welcome everyone tonight again. Something really special happened yesterday, and Ms. Clinton referred to it, and there's some pictures that are scrolling through on our screen over here. Those of you that follow our Twitter account, please, if you don't, follow our Twitter account, and certainly some on our Facebook, but more to come. Yesterday, the middle school received a statewide award from the New York State School Boards Association for the Be the Change Award program for our STEAM program, our Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math program at the middle school. And besides the fact that there's a $5,000 award that came with that, and one of the pictures shows the big check that looks like a lottery check, we brought a number of students and staff members up with us that participated in the program. There it is. And got an inside tour of SUNY Polytechnic. Now, if that doesn't mean anything to you, think about the most high-tech environment that's on the face of the earth, with clean rooms and advanced technologies to build circuits and to build microchips and a lot of things that I don't even understand. And our kids were in there and in awe of these clean rooms with men and women dressed in white garb to keep any of the dust and dirt particles, and they had to step on special pads with their shoes so that they could get any further residue that's on them off before they go into the, I mean, it's just an amazing experience that they saw this, and it was a real great eye-opener for some. And I think one of the things that struck me, especially as Ms. Hecht and I were talking about it, so we really don't know what little spark could happen from this for these 10 kids 10 years from now. And one of the presenters said to Ms. Hecht and I, as we were just having a chat, he says one of the things that made him so energized about continuing to participate is his first intern was a student that attended the award the first year the award was given, which is kind of cool. So as a sixth grader, the child was in getting this award at the school that he or she attended, and then after graduation, did an internship there because there was something that sparked something. And I think that that's truly an amazing element of what came out of this. So besides the accolades, besides the 3 in the state got this award, and we're one of them, besides the wonderful program, Ms. Hecht, I think, and Mrs. Clinton, something got sparked in our children. We just don't know what it is yet. So pretty cool. Thank you for putting this together, and certainly congratulations for the award for you folks and certainly the staff members that run the program. So thank you. Spectacular. And the board has some information on it. There's a brochure that came that gives you some of the information about the other schools that applied and did not get the award. There were, I think, 50 schools all together that were eligible to get the award, and only 3 got it. So out of 700 and some districts, 50 qualified and applied, and 3 got it. So fantastic.
Awesome.
Yes.
I can tell you one thing. I ran into Harrison Solomon, and he said, I am going to that college. So there you go.
It's really something else up there. It really is. Yeah, one of the little workshops that we went to was that they don't buy the chemicals, they make the chemicals. So, you know, the acids that they need for cleaning and manufacturing the layers of film that they put on these materials, they create them. And it's just amazing. So it's not just about computers, it's about how do you make the stuff that makes the computers run, and that's what they make there. Incredible. I know tonight the board is also going to be working on Board of Education goals in case it's needed. I do have paper copies of the draft that we've been working on in case anybody needs that, so when we get to that, I have that for you. Tonight we have a short presentation from our technology staff and our middle school and high school principal, and some, I believe, work with our elementary principals as well regarding acceptable use of technology in our schools. And just to give a little taste for the future, meetings coming up for the rest of the semester, we've got some topics such as helping to sustain a Board of Education that's data savvy, where our principals will be presenting to our Board of Education on results from the last school year, a public view of our academic programs at all 3 levels, and a view into where we expect ourselves to be going in the future. We also will be doing a food service review and also a facilities condition review and planning for the future regarding our facilities. So that's kind of a taste of what's to come in the next several months. So Mark, put it on your list. And with that, I have nothing else.
Thank you very much.
Actually, we just go right into the presentation. Yeah. So with that, I'll pass it off to Mr. Vacatsius and Ms. Hecht, and we'll get started on the acceptable use presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brooks, for this opportunity. We had some discussions about devices in our schools, so we organized a brief presentation to introduce that topic, kind of a status update, and I'm sure this will continue. Acceptable use for devices in our schools are really regulated by 2 policies. The first one, the student use of computerized information resources. What this does, basically it identifies the DCS. This is the district computer system. It really It really defines all the services that we provide, not just students, but employees as well. And just to talk a little bit about whether it's internet access or file storage here at the district or cloud storage through their Google account. The devices that we issue staff and students are all components of the DCS. Aside from that, it does designate that the DCS is to be used for educational purposes. And beyond that, it really talks about, in 2012, we had readopted the policy because there was a lot of legal jargon there, and in trying to explain to students at the time things they were doing wrong that were against the policy, what we did is we embedded several examples of what we were experiencing at that time. So the policy also states what not to do on the DCS as a clear representation of really teaching students what we expect of them when they use these devices or services, employees as well. Beyond that, the policy leaves it open for educational use. It leaves it open for the building and the classroom to define what acceptable use is with policies. So that's really an overview of the student use of computerized information resources. So when it's regard to personal devices like cell phones, there is another district policy. They are connected, 7316. The student use of personal technology. Again, it talks about the use of even personal technology that you would bring into the school to be used for educational purposes. But similar to the policy, it doesn't prohibit you from the cell phone use, but rather leaves you have to use it for educational purposes in school, but it leaves it to the building and the classroom to define what acceptable use is when it comes to personal devices. And I know that sounds a little nebulous, so to clarify how that works at the building and or classroom level, Mr. Lawler and Ms. Clinton will kind of speak to that and how that relates to their buildings.
Okay, so the writing's a little bit small here, but there's a lot of detail in there. Policy 7316, as Mr. Bacazzi said, talks about acceptable authorized use of electronic devices. In the high school, students are permitted to use electronic devices during non-instructional times. During instructional times, it's classroom decisions, classroom management that drives those decisions. We are having an emphasis this year on digital citizenship. That's already happening, and a lot more work is going to happen in that area at both the middle school and the high school, because part of their authorized use and making good decisions is teaching them. And that goes from whether we're talking about plagiarism issues or issues with social media. We really want to capture everything related to the digital world for them. We are also doing training there in grade level assemblies, classroom instruction, professional development days, faculty meetings. We had screenagers last year, which was a huge event for us at the high school, where a number of students and families came out, viewed a film, and then had a discussion afterward about kind of the impact of social media on teenage lives. We are partnering with parents. This year we sent out a letter. I sent out a letter at the beginning of the year and actually spoke about it at open house, in addition to partnering with teachers. This is an ongoing discussion with teachers so that there's kind of broad guidance and individual decisions are made at the classroom level. We also have inappropriate or unauthorized use, which can be dealt with through the Code of Conduct, the Acceptable Use Policy, the teacher practices, procedures, and classroom culture, and the administration, and can include the enforcement of the Dignity for All Students Act. So it's an overview. Each situation that we're working through depends on all the specifics in that scenario. There's no one size fits all. And I'll let Ms. Clinton differentiate for the middle school.
I think my policy is kind of simple because they're not allowed to use cell phones at the middle school. They're not allowed to use it during the academic day. So if they have it on the bus, or if they have it at the end of the day so they can communicate with parents, that's one thing. But the distractibility for students at that age level far outweighs anything beneficial. And I just have to give a quick update on a positive side. Bella mentioned the Chromebooks, and when she and I spoke, the Chromebooks were coming, but last night the 8th graders actually received their Chromebooks. So as far as the need for any kind of electronic device, students have plenty of opportunities to use the now one-to-one initiative for the 8th grade, and then the extra Chromebook cards for the 6th and 7th grade. So they certainly are using the electronic devices, but regarding cell phones, they are not permitted during the course of the school day. And Mr. Stanmeyer and I had a little fun with that yesterday when we did our announcements for open house, and he was doing the announcement part, and I pretended to be on my cell phone and miss my lines. So just kind of a little reminder and encouragement to the parents that, you know, that they just really aren't meant, they don't really bring a lot of benefit at the middle level. So, but we certainly do use other electronic devices for educational purposes.
So we're just looking to close the presentation out with a quote from Alan November, who we've partnered up, and everybody's pretty familiar with that. Again, his focus is not really the technology. That's not the issue. It's how we're using it for teaching and learning and really posing problems for students to solve. And these resources are just available for them to use in solving those problems or doing that classwork. But that does conclude our presentation at this time, unless there's any questions for Mr. Brooks or...
So in regards to the individual classrooms and the idea of leaving it open to teachers regarding the high school level, what do you see? Is there a consensus about specifically cell phones out during classroom in regards to kids using them for social media versus that of instructional education?
Sure. I mean, students should not be using cell phones for social media during instruction. It's very...
Or texting.
That's correct. Very fair to say that. There is individual discussion. I will say our opening faculty meeting on the opening day of school, we actually had a group discussion. I made everybody sit in a circle, so we got close to each other and kind of had a discussion because this is a topic of considerable debate. And I was impressed with the different approaches and opinions and ideas that teachers have, and so we're kind of trying different ideas in different rooms. But I want to caution that so many different things happen in a high school, and as Ms. Clinton and I talked about the age difference of the students, we've got 18-year-old kids with jobs and a million different things that they're coordinating and figuring out, and they're really adults. They're stepping into that world. We do take in younger students, obviously. There's a major difference in terms of life responsibilities, and so we've got to respect the students and that they have to learn how to appropriately use it. I think what's been helpful this year is by taking this on as something that we're discussing, we're really talking about appropriate use. And as I talked in assemblies and with students, anytime this comes up, I'm really explaining to them, this is for you. This is because you need to be able to put that aside for 43 minutes while you're in that class, or for 86 minutes if it's a class and a lab together, and really focus on the proper use. That's to be balanced by me taking pictures all over the place and sending them out on Twitter, and what's happening in the school setting. So I think we just have to make intelligent decisions at every moment. We are supporting teachers in differing approaches, but certainly the intention is that if it's being used during instruction, it's for appropriate instructional use.
Thank you.
It's interesting because if you take one perception of the device being a distraction, it absolutely can be and has been and still will continue to be a distraction for some in any given moment, depending upon what's going on. I am sure that many of the people that are in the room right now have been distracted by a personal device. But it's interesting, there's a new debate that's now occurring in the edusphere. Alan November introduced the idea of the digital divide to us, and it wasn't so much about the digital divide where you have some children that have and you have some children that don't because of socioeconomic issues or any other issues. It's really more about a societal element that if we don't provide access to the internet to children in schools, we are the ones that are creating the divide because we are the equalizer, because access to information needs to be universal. That's the only way that public education can truly be public education. But what's interesting is I saw a quote today that Ms. Heck shared with us that schools are now wrestling with the digital divide within a school. Those that allow the use of digital technology to access information and get beyond the classroom, and those classrooms that don't allow it. So that's another level of the debate that we really do have to look at. It's like saying some kids can use books, some kids can't. If you really think about a book as a source of information and the internet as a source of information. So it's quite an interesting debate, and I have to thank this Board of Education, and specifically Ms. Horton, for raising this issue as something that we really do need to dig into and discuss, because the thing can be a major distraction. The thing can also be the window to the world. And figuring out where that balance is, it's the critical element here. So thank you. This is not a done issue for us. We're continuing the debate, and it is a debate. So thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question. What happens when you do find a student? What happens when you do find a student that is on their device, not paying attention to the teacher, just constantly has their head down? Is there any?
Right, so that's where you have to look at this from a little bit different perspective. What happens if you have a student who's writing a note to a friend in class, which still happens, believe it or not as often as it used to. It's the same discussion. One of the things we talked about with the teachers, it's my expectation the first time that they ask the student to stop and they talk to the student about it. And if it persists, that a phone call goes home. And then, of course, there's the referral to administration if you have a student. But I think many teachers we have cell phone jails that have appeared in schools, little baskets that have a cute little picture on it that, that's kind of, teachers are saying if you have a violation, the device is going to go in there for the rest of the period, and that's sort of a subtle way to teach culture. We have other ways, places where there are boxes that phones are going, but we also just have an expectation now, in my view, in most places, and it should be nearly everywhere, that there's going to be a different approach to what we're doing in the school. But to talk about it the way that it is, it's an educational piece. If I am distracted in the world, my daughter asks me nicely to put my phone down and talk to her. That's where the conversation starts. It's the same with a student in a classroom. And certainly they're going to get support from Mr. Cordolano and myself in the high school. But again, we have to balance this. At open house, I was asked what our policy, at our ninth grade orientation, I was asked what the policy was and kind of how we go through things at the high school level. And I said, well, you've bought the phones for the kids, right? I mean, you're sending to us 570 students out of 600 who carry a device with them every day to school. You have an expectation that they have their device, so you can tell them that their practice changed or that you're going to pick them up at 4 o'clock or something. So, we're all in this together and kind of figuring out one step at a time. And then there are classrooms, for instance, in some of the rooms students are drawing, and the art teachers are encouraging the students to listen to music as they draw and work on some of their pieces of art. So that was something I was approached by an art teacher afterward. You're not going to tell me I can't have students do that anymore. Some of their best work comes, from their inspiration when they're listening to music in class. So there is that balance that happens throughout the day, and every scenario is different.
I was just, I guess I was curious because, again, when the teacher's talking and they're doing it and it has nothing to do with the class, and like you said, they're just going back and forth, texting each other from different classrooms, is there something that we have in place that says, and you just answered it, I like the little basket where you said the phone goes to jail.
Well, again, every classroom is a different world, has a different set of expectations. They're hearing a clear message this year from me what my expectations are. I used the term sacredness of instruction. That was a term I used. I really do have an expectation that I'm not going to see somebody texting someone in a class while there's instruction going on. That's a clear expectation. But to say that, it's every moment, different things happen in schools. It happens in all of our schools, and I do think we're making positive progress. I'm very proud of the direction we're going. The staff is very happy with the discussion. In fact, it's such a discussion that we had in the first month that there are a few other items that we are looking to handle in the same manner of getting us together and really having discussion about what we want our school to be, because it's really our decision. And the students are involved too in the discussion. I have to say the students have been fantastic, and I think that's because we're treating them with respect and we're not just throwing rules down. We're really having the discussion and asking them, that they value their education as much as we do.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much, appreciate that. Next on the agenda here is the board docs training. Now, everybody should be logged in. This, I guess, is going to be our first foray into how we're going to manage through an online agenda and voting. So, this is new for Teresa, it's new for us, new for Susan, new for the entire board. Just remember, whatever we do with the voting on your screens can be fixed, corrected, or adjusted by Teresa, so there's no mistakes. But each member does have on their desk here their device that they're logged into, and they will log their vote as it comes up through each of these next agenda items. So with that, I'll pass it back to Susan, and, oh, I'm sorry, it's public comment next. But if there are any questions about board docs, now would be the great time as we work through our agenda items. Mike is prepared to answer questions, and Teresa's prepared to fix anything that needs fixing, so.
If I might add, just so everyone knows, once we get to an item that we have to vote on, there's going to be a screen that pops up that you're going to be able to vote. I think at this point, I'll probably say, after the discussion part, I'll probably say cast your vote. We'll wait for Teresa to see that everyone has voted, and then she'll let us know whether or not the motion was carried. Everybody good with that?
And if it's not, or whatever, we'll, because before, like I know, Mark would know who voted yes and who voted no, so now we won't have that, it will just be a number.
Well, I think eventually we will. I don't believe that at this point, that part of it, unless Mike can tell me otherwise. What was that?
Oh, but Teresa, I mean, in the meantime, if it's not something that's not 6-0, Teresa can say.
Yes.
It was 5-4, the nay was.
Correct.
Yes.
You know, yeah, but the total, I'm just saying, for reporting out, I mean, so that everybody knows. I mean, it's easy enough until we get it to where you can see it.
Mike and Teresa did a mock meeting, but until we actually see it in action with multiple people on it, so this first action that we're going to take when we get to it will be a first adventure for all of us. But after that, it'll be old
John.
experience.
You saw that John came in? Okay.
So,
Just wanted to give John a second to,
welcome, Mr. Cantone.
Comment anyhow.
okay. Actually, we'll move on to public comment, excuse me. Let me see. Item number 5 on the agenda is public comment. If anyone has any comments, please approach the podium. Okay, great. Moving on to number 6, consent agenda. Just get my computer where. Is it the next page? Is that how it goes? Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
The mouse.
Number 6.
No, I know where it is. I'm just trying to get it on my computer.
How do you scroll?
Yeah,
How do
my
you
scroll
without
bar
a
is all the
mouse?
way down. Oh, that side. Sorry. Okay, got it. Got it. Oh, got it. I see it. I was scrolling on the other side. Okay, number 6, consent agenda. Resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approve the following consent reports as presented. Personnel actions, August audit report, financial reports, and CSE, CPSE reports. Can I get a motion to approve consent reports? James? Joanne, second. Any discussion? Okay. Yes. We're waiting for pop-ups. We got it. Okay, cast your vote.
Or you can get a little spot to change it. If you hit it wrong, see?
Just waiting for John.
So anyway, this is gonna be on the screen so they can see what we're running.
We're gonna try to get that for next time. It's called the scoreboard. Just like the boxes. Right, it shows some progress.
So like I said, in the future, for those of you sitting in the audience here, what we're trying to do is you'll be able to see everything that we're doing from our screen on this computer. But for the purposes of this meeting, because we don't have that going yet,
The scoreboard piece.
the scoreboard piece we're talking about. At that point, once everyone votes, Teresa will let us know.
You know what, John, we can have Teresa vote for you, so,
Okay.
well, we can do that too.
Okay.
Because he's not on Wi-Fi.
Yay or nay?
Yay. Got it. Yes.
Yes.
Just wait.
Should've got through.
Do you see Mr. Conley's?
Everybody.
Motion is carried. Okay,
Aye. Everybody?
Was that 6-0? Motion carried 6-0? Okay.
Okay, I just did it.
Moving on to number 7.
What do you mean? Right, on the minutes. Right, this one was 6-0, so everybody voted yes. If, as Ms. Horton said, if there's someone that votes in the negative, then Teresa would say the motion carried 5-1, the no was.
Wait, number 7.
Okay?
Yeah, 7A.
Okay, moving on to 7, recommended actions. Resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approve the application from Orange County Office of Real Property Tax Service for corrected tax rolls for 2017 for the following properties as presented. Can I get a motion to approve the application? James, second. Frank, second. Any discussion? Okay, cast your vote. The motion was carried, 6-0. Moving on to B, tax corrections. Recommended action. Resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approve the application from Ulster County Real Property Tax Service for corrected tax rolls for 2017 for the following properties as presented. Can I get a motion to approve the application? Joanne? Second? James? Any discussion? Okay, you can cast your vote. The motion was carried, 6-0. Moving on to budget increase. Resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, increases the 2017-2018 budget by $36,000 for money received from the grant in aid in support of the general expenses in the following codes as presented. Can I get a motion to approve the receipt, or the transfer, excuse me? James, second. Frank, any discussion? Okay, you can cast your vote.
I'm going to have to be verbal. Votes yes. I just closed it out by accident.
The motion was carried 6-0. Yes. Yeah.
Personnel one.
And now that we're done with the recommended actions, before we go to old business, after we finished our consent agenda that included our personnel actions, I was remiss in not introducing someone. So we appointed tonight our interim assistant principal at Marlboro Elementary School, and she's here with us tonight, Dara Kaplan. So I'd like to introduce you to Dara Kaplan. Dara comes with a very strong skill set with very specific areas that we really are excited to have her part of our community. So, Dara, welcome. I know that Ms. Walsh is excited to have you, and certainly the rest of the team is too. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to old business.
I do have updated, there was one conflict when you look at the Audit and Facility Committee schedule. I think March 15th was a day where both meetings were scheduled for the same day. I have on the printer upstairs the revised schedules, so I'll pass them out to you when we head up.
Okay.
You got a hard copy in your folder. If you're going to get a new one.
Really, the point there is that we've got these committees scheduled out for the year, and certainly some of them will be as needed, but we're really looking at where we're going to be going with our building condition survey. Our facilities committee is going to be taking a hard look at that, and certainly the finance committee will get detailed involvement in dealing with our financial plan as we move forward, and certainly how we work through some of the areas of our building condition survey. So again, that's part of the meetings to come, and stay tuned.
Okay, great. Okay, moving on to board goals. Last meeting, we discussed, I think pretty much at length, about some ideas that we wanted to look at. What we're handing out at this point are our proposed board goals. Are they in print over there or no?
What's that?
Are they in print with
Teresa?
yeah,
Probably not.
okay,
To be able to project it, no.
okay.
No, we could have added it there and probably added it, but
You want me to
no.
just go through them? or-
Sure.
Okay. So at this point, what the board has proposed is the following, and this is a draft proposal for 2017-2018. Number one, through Board of Education policy and oversight, enable the school district to create an environment and reputation that is highly regarded for its academic excellence, advancement of the arts, successful and participative athletic programs, and for developing our future leaders, all resulting in continuous improvement of the community in which it operates. I think that was actually our vision. Right? I think that's what we had as our vision, not an overall vision.
Sure.
So I think that,
And separate that out as vision?
yes.
Sure.
So the next proposed goal The Board of Education is committed to excellence. To that end, the Board of Education, in collaboration with the educational community, will evaluate academic programs and commit to excellence in supporting quality programs which help students excel academically, socially, emotionally, and physically. This sets an example of an evaluation cycle which fosters continuous improvement in all facets of our educational community. Number 3, the Board of Education is committed to managing the finances entrusted to it by the taxpayers of Marlborough Central School District. To this end, the board will work diligently to find the appropriate balance between providing and expanding student programs in support of the district visions and goals and optimizing and reducing operating costs, resulting in minimal or reduced tax liabilities to the community members living within our school district. The next proposed goal: continue practices that encourage and assure transparency in board and administrative operations and communication of school district events, news, and achievements through a variety of media. Examples: website, text, social media, news media, and newsletters, etc. The next proposed goal: review policies and create policies and practices to ensure that students can learn in a physically, socially, and emotionally safe environment. A particular focus needs to be placed on treating each other with dignity and respect. The next proposed goal: support a K-12 structure with program options at all levels that have the pathways and support which allows students to graduate with the most advanced degree possible with a rich array of courses on their transcript at the highest GPA class rank attainable for each student. The next proposed goal: the Board of Education is committed to work with the administrative team to develop a results-driven measurement system, leveraging various sources of data to gain insights, monitor and validate our programs, policies, and staff investments are generating the desired outcomes and driving continuous improvements. Something's wrong with that sentence. The next proposed goal: support the administrative and teaching communities in their efforts to further the understanding and use of STEM technologies with the school district and to enable and to inspire students to obtain the right skills and experiences to prepare them for STEM-related academic and career paths. I think some of these we can probably merge. I'm hearing similar themes quite a few times, right?
Yes.
Now that I've read them out loud.
Which ones are you referring to, Sue? I think 6 and 2 were pretty similar myself.
6 and 2. Yeah, there is definitely a...
Yeah, now 6 was an addition, which was what Mike used as a vision statement in the staff development day. That's where that came from.
Well, and also 2 on 5 in regards to, to ensure students can learn in physically, socially, emotionally safe environment. We can probably, number 2 also states, help students excel academically, socially, emotionally, so we can, I think, combine those into...
5 is encapsulated. 5 is already into, is what you're saying?
A portion of it, yes. I mean, the reviewing of the policy, I mean, it's kind of repeating itself, so maybe we can take, I mean, it pertains to both of them for sure.
How about, to that end, the Board of Education, in collaboration with the educational community, will evaluate policy, academic programs, and commit to excellence in supporting. So we infuse the policy
Yes.
element.
Good.
All right? We'll evaluate
Everybody
policies.
okay with that?
Yeah. Academic programs, policies and academic programs, and commit to excellence in supporting. Okay,
Yes.
we can do that.
Great.
And that takes number
And that-
5 out, right?
And that takes out 5.
So we have number 1 is a vision.
Yes.
So then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 goals that we'll be working on. I think that's a little bit more manageable.
How many goals?
Any thoughts?
Well, and I think we say that the goals for 17, 18, but the reality of it is it's an ongoing.
Yes.
And that's where that's the goals. I think the results will really be more year-driven. The goals, unless there's some major change, can still be our goals and we can just tweak them. We don't have to try and reinvent the wheel every year.
When we started this process, and remember, this does help provide the light on the mountain for which we all climb. So that really is the key piece here, is that it's a consolidated set of statements that help us as an institution move towards this set. So certainly this Board of Education is going to monitor our progress, and our charge now is to provide information to this board showing that this is the direction that we're going. So that will be done through our meetings here, and certainly as we debate and prepare for the 18-19 school year's budget, because this is foundational. This is a long-term look at where do we want to be. We know where we are, and we're going to spend some time over the next several meetings really knowing where we are as our 3 principals and our Director of Curriculum Instruction explore our results, our current status, and our plans for the future. And certainly these elements will drive those presentations.
So does everyone feel that they're specific enough and measurable?
Yeah, so summarize again, which ones are we consolidating? Is it 2, 3, and 4?
So 5 is going away, but I'm including the policies piece in number 1 because the sentiment is incorporated into that from what I understood there.
Okay.
And then the rest of them are still in place.
Well, actually, number 2.
Oh, number 2, right, which is the new number 1.
Yeah. So, okay, so just to recap, number 1 is actually our vision.
Right.
Number 2 is changed to number 1. So then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Is 6 too many?
6 too many. We're down to
We had 5 last year.
1,
Yeah,
2,
I don't think
3,
so.
4, 5. We're at 6. Okay. That's 6 too many? Or
Is it?
Are they specific enough and
sorry,
measurable? That's my question. Are they specific enough in order for us to set a measurable parameter? The fruit
Well,
flies.
There is something. It's horrible.
Well,
Any vinegar?
Yeah.
I think the measurable
Yes.
part is really reviewing the data and see where we're going each year. You know, the budget stuff is reviewing and what's the trend. I think it's not like, oh, well, you went out and you raised $25 today, measurable, but there's a measurable portion based on our reviews, I think, yes.
I agree with Frank.
yeah, I think the intent of the goals is not to be too specific, because the tactical plan or the measurements that you do throughout the year at various points that might be different, supporting a particular goal or multiple goals, is something the administrative staff would work on, and maybe us as well, as a board combined.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's a hierarchy, vision, goals, and then tactical plans with appropriate measurements and parameters, or however detailed you got.
I think too, though, there's more traditional goals and goals that are more progressive that are specific, and maybe that's what you're talking about, more of the tactical plan.
Well, to answer your question, I think they're specific enough for goals.
Okay.
I don't think any of them are too specific.
Everyone feels good about that?
I think our challenge administratively now is to show the board how we've internalized this set that you're now, what I'm anticipating going to adopt tonight, and show you how we're progressing towards those as the year progresses, as the year moves on. So that truly does set us on a path.
As amended.
I'd say yes.
So, but these were proposed.
I'd say yes.
This is not our...
Anybody can't-
So is there any further discussion on this?
So I'd make a motion then that we adopt the amended sheet that we've just gone through as our vision and our 6 goals for the 17-18 school year.
And a second? James? Any discussion?
Just a question. Do we have to rewrite it before we actually vote on it, or what we said right now is good enough? Right.
Yeah, that's up to you. I mean, the amendment would be that the number 1 item is actually the vision. The originally numbered 2 item, which is now the first goal, is going to include the word policies.
Okay.
And
We're deleting.
number 5, the numbered number 5 is deleted.
Okay, so those are minimal changes. Okay, yeah. Answer my.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Can I just ask a procedural question? Teresa, were you able to capture that electronically, or are you going to capture that after the meeting? Okay. They're just learning it myself, too, so. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. So the motion to adopt the proposed goals as goals was carried. All right. Let's see. Moving on to E. Posting of the Board of Education vacancy with policy attached. Resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approve the posting for the vacancy in the Board of Education with an addendum, that which includes our policy number 1230. Can I get a motion to approve the posting?
We did that last meeting.
We actually, when we went back, we realized there was not a second on the motion, so we have to vote.
Yeah, we reviewed the video multiple times, and no one seconded the motion, so in consultation with our attorney, they said the board needs to react on it to make it a true motion, second, and then vote.
So can I get a motion to approve the posting? Joanne, a second.
Second.
John,
Second.
any discussion? Okay, cast your vote. The motion has been carried 6-0. Moving on to new business. Does anyone have any new business? Let me just make sure I don't. Okay. Any other items?
Just in case anybody wants to know, the football team's up 42-6.
It's a close
All
one.
right.
Excuse me, 49-6. They just updated it.
Closer.
I had a question for Robin, actually, in regards to the update that you give. You had said that the Orton-Gillingham pathway to learning was implemented to large and small groups who are at risk, but it's also a process that all students can also take advantage of. Can you just tell me a little bit about that? Yes. When you gave the update for the board? On the board, Grim?
It's a program to train teachers so that they can address the reading skills of all students. But we're right now focusing the training on the special ed teachers, the AIS teachers, and the ENL teachers. So we're doing a fall workshop, and then we're going to be doing an advanced workshop in the spring.
Are the writing workshop teachers at the high school, are they included in that?
Last spring, we did a writing workshop, Writing for Struggling Writers, for the high school and for the middle school, and now we're doing it for 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, thank you.
We're also continuing Dr. Riley, who's working with guided reading, and that K through 5.
Okay, great, thank you. Items. Sorry, I have a list. But I'm just making sure I didn't forget anything. Okay, anyone else, other items?
No list.
Listen, this is like tricky up here with all of this stuff going on. Okay. Number 11. We are getting to the public content of our meeting, the recognition of district residents and others. If you would like to address the board, please approach the podium. Okay, great. All right, at this time, we do, wait. All right. Oops. Moving on to number 12, executive session. We do have a executive session scheduled. Resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, enter into executive session for the purpose of proposed, pending, or current litigation and collective bargaining negotiations. Can I get a motion to move into executive session? James, second. Joanne? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion is carried, 6-0. I'd like to thank everyone for their patience, and it will get better.